Hi everyone and welcome to another video on the channel. I'm slightly embarrassed because we've left up the happy 30th birthday bunting in the background. It's a few days after my birthday, still celebrating. And so I thought I'd bring you a bit of a different video today. Like many weeks ago, I think towards the beginning of lockdown, I did a drawing video where I did like a time lapse of me sketching a character. Well, it was a sketch that I'd already done, but then I put it on the computer and then I traced over it essentially on the computer to make a digital version of it. So what I've decided to do today is, well, it's a video of two parts. So I've gone onto the Disney YouTube channel and gone onto one of their how to draw videos. So I'm going to learn how to draw the genie from Aladdin. So we're going to do that in a time lapse, and then once we've done that, we're going to then scan that picture into my laptop, and then using Critter we're going to create a digital version of the drawing that I've done. And then also I asked you yesterday for your questions. I thought I would do like a Q&A while I do the digital version, because then like the hard work of doing the initial drawing is done, so then I can, while I'm doing the outlines on the digital version, I can answer some of your questions. So yeah, grab yourself a cuppa. Gonna be a nice relaxing vlog. So here we go. This is the first time for me drawing the genie from Aladdin. It looks a little bit harder than some of the other drawings, but I thought, let's test ourselves today. So here's the time lapse. The first part will be the sketch of the genie, and then we'll scan it in and I'll answer your questions. So stay tuned. So this is the final version of the sketch that I've got.
So we're now going to put this into the computer. I'm going to scan it, and then I'm going to have to match up the two parts, because the problem we've been having with that A4 paper is that we've not been able to fit on all of the drawing. So what I did was I got 2 bits of A4 paper, sellotaped the back, and then I've gone over 2 bits of paper. So I'll scan both pages in, and then I'll link them when we get into the software, and then we'll go over this initial drawing, bring the character to life on the computer. I'm pretty happy with that though. I mean, not the easiest character to draw. This was theirs. And then this is the one that I came out with. I'm really chuffed with that. Right, let's scan it in and then I'll answer your questions. Okay, so a lot of time has passed, and actually it didn't work out quite the way that I wanted it to work out. I wanted to answer your questions while I did the drawing on the laptop, but turns out I can't concentrate on both at the same time. So I decided to do the drawing first, and what's going to happen is while I'm chatting to you now, answering the questions, that footage is going to be over here, over my shoulder, so you can keep an eye on how things are progressing with the Genie artwork. So let's get to the questions. Thank you if you did ask me something over Instagram. So first question, which country would you most like to visit next? So I've decided to opt for a country that we've not been to yet. That will not necessarily be the next country that we visit, but I think we are both in agreement that we'd love to visit Japan for Disney and non-Disney reasons. Yeah, it's just somewhere that we really look forward to going eventually. Next question is favourite food. I always find this difficult because I tend to enjoy every food. But I think something that I've been eating the most at the moment is wraps. I do love a good fajita wrap. So yeah, I think I'm going to go for Mexican food. So next question is, would you work on a cruise ship again? Maybe if Disney Cruise Line came knocking. I don't think so. You'd have to be very persuasive in order to get me back on to a cruise ship, but I'm one for saying never say never, because I did come off a cruise ship once and say I'm never doing that again, and then I went back and that's when I met Helena. So yeah, never say never, but at the moment I can't see it happening. I would love to go on a Disney cruise though as a guest. I have been a guest on a cruise ship before and I really enjoyed that. So yeah, yes as a guest. Can't see it happening for a career again. What are the first things you want to do when you can step foot in a Disney park again? Something I would like to do if we get to Disneyland Paris this year, first thing I'd like to do is just wander around all the lands and just take everything in and just be like, yes, we're back, hello again. And then I think one of the first things we'd like to do, well, I've been itching for a Buzz Lightyear challenge because, as you know from the last series of vlogs in Disneyland Paris, I lost. So I need to book up my ideas and get some revenge. I remember you said you used to act. Would you ever do it again? And what would you be interested in? I would love to act again. I'd love to maybe join an amateur dramatics group once this is all blown over. It's what helped me with my confidence. I was very shy when I was a child. The acting really helped. I used to love classical acting. I was a big fan of doing Shakespeare. In fact, one of my favourite things to ever perform in was an end of year show at Newcastle College, where we did a show. It was all about William Shakespeare, but we took his texts and we moulded them into his life. So like bits of his text would fit in with things that happened during his lifetime. And I got to play William Shakespeare. I was very fortunate to get the lead in that show. And I loved it. I loved performing all of the Shakespearean text. I love, because obviously when you first read it, you're very unsure as to what this actually means. And one of my favourite things to do was to break it down into modern day language. So what you do is you'd look at the text and then you'd write it out as if somebody was saying it today. So you had to sort of like decipher it. Then you would perform the one that you'd written out with like all the slang words and stuff and modern day language. And then you'd find that when you then went back and did the original text, your intentions from that modern day text and from the modern words, the intentions went onto the classical text, and I really enjoyed doing that. So yeah, maybe I'd like to try some Shakespeare, but I'm also a big fan of comedy, so I'd maybe like to try and do a farce of some description. But yeah, I'd really like to get back into acting. What is your education background, uni, college, etc.? So actually I just mentioned there, so I went to Newcastle College after my A-levels. So I went to Newcastle College and I did a foundation degree in acting and then a Bachelor of Honours in acting. So the foundation degree was a combination of contemporary and classical acting, and then the Bachelor of Honours was in contemporary acting. So I graduated from there, and then straight after that I went to the Edinburgh Fringe with my very own show. There was a small group of us, about 5 of us, that did a show at the Edinburgh Fringe for a month in 2011. But I owe that production to my tutors at Newcastle College, because they really pushed me to produce something that I was really passionate about, and what I came up with we then ended up taking to the Edinburgh Fringe because I was really proud of it. So yeah, I've got some very fond memories of Newcastle College, and I've got friends from now that I met in my audition for Newcastle College, which is crazy. How did you get into cruise ships? Oh, very random. I think I was just looking for acting auditions, and then I saw that there was an audition for something, but it was an audition for something called an entertainment host. But the bit that appealed to me was that it was working on a cruise ship, it was travelling, you got to present game shows. That was the main appeal of it, that's what drew me in. I wanted to look more into presenting. And so I saw this thing, come along to the audition, you have to design your own game show, you'll host it in the audition, and there'll be group activities as well. So I went along, and I can't remember where I went to. Was it Leeds I maybe went to for this audition? And what happened is we did some group activities. You had to pretend that you were doing an advert for the cruise company, what you would say. I didn't know, I'd never been on a cruise before, so I just blagged it. And then I did my game show, which was all to do with movie trivia and guessing which facts were true and which ones were false. And then what I found to be the secret of the success of it was that everyone else did game shows, and I just kept volunteering to be the person in their game show. So like, they would look for volunteers, I would make sure that I was one of the people that was volunteering for the game show. So the people that were running the audition saw me throughout the day interact with different people, all from different backgrounds, and they saw how I coped in different situations. And there was one other guy there who I struck a really good rapport with, and we were a bit of a double act all the way through the day. And then when I left, I got a phone call a week later or so saying that I got the job working on the ship, but the other guy who I had this sort of double act with, he'd got the job as well. So we got it together, we sort of pulled each other through that audition. I was working in a pub at the time, got a phone call just before I was about to start work saying that you're going to be leaving for the Caribbean in 2 weeks. So I then had to rush to the pub. I was late for my shift, told them that I'd be handing in my notice, and then I think 2 weeks later I was flying off to the Caribbean, and I was on that ship for maybe 6 months or so. I can't quite remember, because my first contract I think was 14 months, but I think I had a little break in between where I came back from my brother's wedding. But yeah, that's how I got into it. It was very random. Could you give us an interesting fact about you? Well, this seems the perfect time to bring up something that I mentioned in yesterday's vlog. On Sunday, we did Would I Lie to You, essentially, with Helena's family. So we did this game where we came up with 3 statements, 2 of which were true, 1 of them was false, and you had to guess which one was false. And if you got it correct, then you got a point. So in yesterday's vlog, I gave you my 3 statements, and I asked you to put in the comments which one you thought was the lie. So the 3 were that I was voted most likely to win an Oscar in secondary school, that I was told on a BBC TV show that I'd make a good stand-up comedian, or that I used to chew window blinds as a child. Well, the lie is the first one. The lie is that I was voted most likely to win an Oscar, because I wasn't. I was actually voted most likely to be Prime Minister, because I used to do a lot of public speaking and take part in public speaking competitions. Thankfully, I don't have that job. But yeah, a lot of people guessed that the lie was the one about being told I'd make a good stand-up comedian on a BBC TV show. It's actually the truth. So I was, like I said, taking part in public speaking competitions. A show came up on the BBC called The Speaker, and it was to find Britain's best young public speaker. And I entered, and they came to the school, you had to audition, and I did my speech for them, which was like a 60-second, it was a 60-second speech on public speaking that I'd already performed as part of a different show, but I performed a really short version for this audition. I got through, and then I had to go to Glasgow, I think, for the taping of the show, and it was a bit like the X Factor, they had judges. My dad drove me up there, and we spent all day there. In the footage, it looks like I'm one of the first people there auditioning. I wasn't. We waited maybe 6 hours before I did my bit to the judges. Did my bit to the judges, and Joe Brand, who was one of the judges, said that I would make a good stand-up comedian. And I did do a few open mic nights in Newcastle, and they did go well. The sort of last one wasn't as good as some of the other ones that I'd done, and then the longer you leave it, the fear just starts niggling away at you, and you just get so nervous about doing it again. And so I haven't performed another stand-up gig since, I can't remember, it must be 2011, 2010. But yeah, I was told that I would make a good stand-up comedian by Joe Brand. If you could visit any UK city, where would you go? Well, right now, because of this situation, it would be Newcastle, because I haven't seen my family since the very beginning of January. Obviously, I've seen them over all the video chats and stuff, but yeah, really missing them, so it would be to Newcastle. Do you miss cruising? I miss certain aspects, but the aspects don't tend to revolve around the working on the ship. The bits that I miss the most are the travelling bits, and being able to see places that I never thought I'd be able to see, and take part in things that I never thought I would take part in. Managed to do some wonderful things, managed to go like river tubing. One of the favourite things that I ever did was speedboating in Mexico. So it's those sorts of things that I wouldn't normally get a chance to do. So that's the aspect that I do miss. Favourite thing you've ever cooked or baked? I'm going to go with baked, and I'm going to choose, actually I did a video of this on the channel for Meals with Martyn, and it's shortbread Mickeys that were dipped in chocolate. And the reason that I say they're the best thing I ever made, or favourite thing I ever made, is because I didn't know how they were going to taste. And I didn't know if they'd actually come out like a shortbread biscuit. And so it was like a relief when I bit into them and they tasted the way that they should taste. Somebody's asked if I've got tips for jet lag. I don't really have. I suppose the one that I always used to give people, because working on the ship we were over in the Caribbean or over in Asia, and there'd be very, very long flights over, and people would always make the mistake of going to bed as soon as they got to the ship, but that wouldn't be a late time for where they were. So they'd come to the ship and they'd maybe go to bed at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But that's sort of the worst thing you can do, because then your body clock's going to be all wrong, and then you wake up in the middle of the night and then you can't get back to sleep. So it just sets you off on the wrong foot. So the thing I always used to say is try and stay up to the sort of normal hour that you would go to bed if you were at home, but in the time of where you are. If you could visit any other Disney park in the world, which would you most like to visit? I think because of the Imagineering story, it would have to be the original. So Disney in California. Disneyland in California. I really want to go and visit the Cars Land and go on the Cars ride. I'd be able to go to a Galaxy's Edge. Yeah, I just want to go there for the history of it as well, and just to say this is the park that started it all. So somebody asked which Disney sidekick would you be and why. I actually chose Sebastian from The Little Mermaid because he's loyal, he's kind, he can be very passionate about his hobbies, he's very passionate about his music. He can be a stickler for the rules, which I can be sometimes. Not as reckless as you might think. I don't know if anybody thinks I'm reckless. But he is guided by his heart, and I think that's me. Somebody's asked about favourite souvenir that you've bought from a Disney park so far. I think I've mentioned this before, but it has to be the Toy Story Land mug that we bought on the opening day of Toy Story Land at Walt Disney World in Florida. If you could have one Disney snack right now, what would it be? I've never had this Disney snack, but I've seen it on so many vlogs. I think Tim Tracker even tried to make some the other day, but it's the cheeseburger pods that you can get in Pandora. They sound like they've got my name on them. So yeah, I'd go for a snack that I haven't tried. If I could get my hands on them right now, I'd want to try those cheeseburger pods. Somebody asked me to name my favourite characteristic about Helena. That's a tough question though, because like, I've got to narrow it down to just one thing. Something that I've always admired is her ability to stand up for what she feels is right, to stand up if she feels that someone isn't being treated fairly or treated well, to speak out, to be a voice for that person if they feel like they can't voice it themselves. It just shows how caring she really is. So yeah, that's what I'd go with. And then the final question, can you give a top 5 list of what to do first time staying at DLP and a Disney hotel? Okay, so there are so many things that you could do, but if we're going to say 5, let's say go for a drink in Cafe Fantasia in the Disneyland Hotel, because it means you get to also have a snoop at the hotel. Ride Big Thunder while the fireworks are going. Watch Illuminations. Number 4, I would say go to the top of the castle and catch whatever shows are on at that time. So there's 5. That was really tricky to choose just 5 things. We are thinking of doing a video where we actually talk about things to do if it's your first time, but yeah, there's 5 for you. Okay, so that's it. I've answered all of the questions there. So what we're going to do now, let's go over to the actual drawing. So there it is. There's the Genie. All finished. So we've drawn it out by hand. We've then scanned it into the computer, and then we've done it on a bit of digital software called Critter. And yeah, really happy with it. It's just nice to be creative, and I've spent ages doing that, and when I was doing it on the computer I didn't even have any music going, I didn't have anything on the TV, it was just nice and relaxing. I was just focused on that and that alone. So yeah, it was really nice to do. Really recommend doing the Disney art classes. I think there's about 42 of them on the Disney YouTube channel. So yeah, give them a go and let me know how you get on. Well, thank you so much for watching, everybody. We will be back tomorrow with our Disney quiz. So it's going to be at 6 o'clock UK time, and it's going to start, the quiz itself will probably start around 6:10. There'll be 5 rounds again. I'll come up with half the questions, Helena will come up with half the questions, and we'll play along with you. So yeah, that's tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Helena will be back with me for the Disney quiz. We are looking forward to it. Can't wait to see you there. So yeah, come and join us for that. And all that's left to say is, Toodle Pipski.